U.S. officials are ramping up Operation Epic Fury, saying that the bombardment of Iran will, quote, surge dramatically. CENTCOM releasing new videos that you're looking at showcasing America's military might, adding that Iranian targets are being, quote, decimated. President Trump posting a new warning on Truth Social this morning. There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. Iran will have a great future, he says. Make Iran great again, or MIGA, he puts in parentheses. The State Department says nearly 24,000 Americans have been evacuated from the Middle East so far. And new photos show families boarding the New England Patriots jet, one of many chartered flights that are getting Americans home safely. Meanwhile, a new report claims one of Iran's closest allies is getting more involved in the conflict. Listen to this. This is according to the Washington Post. Russia is providing the regime with intelligence, including the locations of American warships and aircraft in the Middle East. Sources are not waving Fox off of that reporting. I want to go back to what we reported at the top and give it a little bit more color here. Tommy, it's remarkable what Trey Inks found out about this bunker that the Ayatollah was in. Apparently, almost 50 of them killed. We know that, 49 leaders in 50 seconds. The Ayatollah spent millions of dollars, many years building this, and he just thought he wouldn't go down into the bunker that day because no one would have the guts to get him. But I guess he had never met President Trump.
Right. And if you combine American intelligence with Israeli intelligence, it's the perfect storm here. It did not work out in Iran's favor. I think that the entitlement and the inflated sense of self in Iran with the mullahs was certainly something to marvel at. I think that what you're seeing here is going to be very quick work made of Iran. And of course, they're going to push back because they have, again, that inflated sense of self and that inflated ego, and they have to fight back. But I think that's why you're seeing the confidence from President Trump that this is not going to be an endless war, a forever war. This is going to be in, this is going to be out, and hopefully a new future for Iran. I think the people are ready at this point. He gave them that option. He said, we're not going to do it for you, but we'll be here to help. And I feel like that's exactly how this is going. Yeah, and Lisa, we have actually a diagram of the compound, and it's just fascinating to see because Iran is such an opaque country. You don't get a clear view into it very often. And to see this diagram of the bunker and this imagery of this bunker being struck, where literally 1 week ago today was the day before the Ayatollah was taken out.
Well, I mean, I think the message to the rest of the world is America is back. I mean, we had 4 years of weakness under Joe Biden, and President Trump is reasserting America as the world's leading superpower. And this is also a message to Russia and China as well, because Iran gets a lot of their equipment, military advice, software as well from those countries. So it's sort of a stress test as well of how our offenses would work against Russia and China additionally. And it's worked well. I mean, you look at a 90% drop in the ballistic missiles that Iran has been able to send. You look at decapitating their Navy as well as their leadership in quick order, as you're pointing out with what we're seeing there with the Ayatollah's previous place, obviously no longer with us. Thank God for that. But, you know, beyond that, I think, too, what we're seeing is, you know, even look at what's happening in Lebanon as well, with the Lebanese government standing up against Hezbollah as well. I mean, Hezbollah has sort of served as a state within a state for a long time there. Those are unprecedented moves. So President Trump says make Iran great again, potentially making the Middle East great again, you know, commerce without chaos with removing Iran as well as its funding of these terrorist proxies.
Yeah, I agree entirely, Molly, that this sends a message to China. It sends a message to Russia. But this reporting from the Washington Post about Russia facilitating Iran by giving information to them, I'm not surprised by it. But I have wondered, is Russia in any way deterred? I asked Benjamin Hall last night, do you think, you know, Vladimir Putin, by way of example, comes to the table on Ukraine? He said no.
Yeah, and they don't seem to be deterred in Ukraine, given what we see on a week-to-week basis. They seem to be just as intent there as they ever have been. They seem unconcerned, and they've been a long-time Iranian ally. So perhaps we shouldn't be remotely surprised that they continue to communicate, and they have aspects that they probably like to continue there, assets that they want. They still continue to want oil. And while there's very significant issues right now in Iran in being able to get anything that they might want to do economically back on board, and it doesn't seem that that's going to change anytime soon, and particularly not in the coming weeks especially, I think it's unsurprising that Russia stands where they do on this. And I don't know that they'll be bold about it. I suspect it'll continue to be an underlying and quiet thing, but I don't think they're also going to be particularly concerned about hiding it either. I'm not expecting any bold messaging, but I think this is what we can expect.
Yeah, speaking of bold messaging, let's bring up the 53 Democrats who voted against a resolution calling Iran a state sponsor of terrorism. I mean, Charles, it's really remarkable that this basic proposition is not something these 53 Democrats could coalesce around.
Yeah, it's just getting embarrassing. Almost every time another major event is occurring, their disdain for President Trump supersedes logic, common sense, and the safety of Americans. And it's scary stuff. In the meantime, what we've done, how well this has been pulled off is really amazing. Even The Economist, which hates Trump even more than Democrats, had to admit that it's been absolutely remarkable, the precision. And what we're going through right now is removing threats, and now bringing in the B-52s, the constant bombing, and now going after facilities that can make weapons. A lot of folks in the media, it reminds me of the tariff situation. The market is under pressure, oil is up, and they're trying to scare the hell out of Americans. We're losing this thing is the narrative that they're trying to push. But everything has gone according to plan, every single aspect of this. And you talk about, well, they've got a gazillion missiles. They have no launchers. That's why these numbers have gone down successively, from 600 missiles to 500 to 400 to double digits, and maybe, who knows, soon. Even the swarms, of drone swarms, again, dramatic. The funnel, it's gone down dramatically. So the only thing that's on this side of this is the public relations aspect of it. The Democrats would like Americans to believe that somehow it's a mistake, that we're losing, and they will go so far as to try to even create sympathy for a dictator like the Ayatollah.
I'm an avid reader of The Economist as well, and I flipped open my laptop because I just read the same article as you. The Iran war has been a stunning aerial success.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's quite an admission.
The only thing I read, though, really is I read a little bit, but the only good part of it now is the obituary part. That's the only thing. The obituary is really great. If you want to learn about world history, I always rip that out. And right now, I have a 13-year-old granddaughter. I let her read it. When my son was growing up, I let him read it. Outside of that, it's not what it used to be.
And I skipped that section, so I'll start reading it. All right.
A little unexpected advice from Charles.
Charles Day. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, well, this statement from CENTCOM, it's pretty eye-opening. CENTCOM, this is on the Iranian attacks on civilians last night. Iranian forces fired 7 attack drones at civilian residential neighborhoods in Bahrain. This is unacceptable and will not go unanswered. So there you have it, Iran targeting civilians. No one is surprised.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.